What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Batman, the animated series Shadow of the Bat. It is designed by Pete Walsh and Kevin Wilson, based on a game design by Kevin Wilson, which started with TMNT Shadows of the Past, and published by IDW Games. Now I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who will tell you more about the game itself.
So this is a cooperative game that's for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and above, and it plays in about 60 to 90 minutes.
I think most of our games were actually maybe even a little bit on the shorter side, probably around 45 to 60 minutes. But we have played a lot of the adventure system. This is not our first rodeo. We played a fair bit of TMNT, I think, probably about like 8 to 10 games of that one.
I think more than that. I was going to say at least a dozen.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with the adventure system, so that's why we're back checking out Batman, the animated series. So what will you be doing? Well, we have the game set up in front of you. You will be becoming your favorite heroes, or if you're lucky enough to have one of the expansions, you can even become the villains. Now, that one's only a Kickstarter exclusive, unfortunately. But in any case, in this box, you'll be becoming your favorite heroes. You're going to be reliving scenarios based on episodes of the animated series. You'll be taking on those villains. You're going to be needing to be strategic, move around the map, defeat the enemies, potentially save the bystanders. And Julie, can you show them some gadgets?
Yeah, well, we have lots of different gadgets here. We've got batarangs and caltrops and
exactly. So
gas masks.
You'll be using all sorts of different gadgets to defeat your enemies in true Batman style. And you will even have the fair weather ally Catwoman, who maybe you'll be fighting against her, and other times she'll be on your team. You can even play some, well, you don't have the miniature, otherwise it'd be fun. You can do Catwoman versus Catwoman. I'm sure there's a way to make that work if you wanted to. But I think I've covered enough about the game. There'll be different objectives to your scenario as well. And before we forget, the game is cooperative and competitive. So it's a one versus many, or as we like to play it, a 4-player, because I mean, you want to have all 4 characters versus the AI, but you can also play in Dark Knight mode, which is true solo as only Batman. So I think I got everything there.
Now we grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
And we're going to take it to the table one more time.
One more time. You're going down, Mr. Freeze.
I almost said Frozone. Yeah, Mr. Freeze. Too much Incredibles.
What can I say? The little guy loves it. So, Julie, what did you think of Batman, the animated series, Shadow of the Bat? I know we didn't quite get a chance to play as many games as we wanted to with this one, but don't worry, you will be able to check out our reviews of the other adventure series game, TMNT, so we are very familiar with the system. And there aren't too many differences between the two.
No, it feels very familiar. It's just skinned differently. Right now you're playing with Batman and Robin and Batgirl, etc., instead of with the Turtles.
Yeah. You do have some definite Batman stuff that is adding to the game, but in terms of the basics, what you're doing, your actions, and the flow of the game, they're very similar.
Yeah, so, I mean, I had fun playing Robin. I kind of sat down and like, oh, of course Jason took Batman and gave me Robin.
Hey, you always say you don't like Batman.
No, I prefer Superman to Batman, that's for sure. But Jason's been itching to play this game. He loves Batman.
I do. Really do.
I have to say, I was a little disappointed in Batgirl. She's not bad.
You've done a lot of really cool things with her.
I guess I just wish she was strong. She just feels underperforming compared to Robin. I think there are really 2 main characters in this game, and then everybody else is supporting cast. She's not so bad. Just like Jim Gordon's not so bad once you figure out how to play his beat cops.
Yeah, there's a few hinks. Well, like I said hinks. I should have said kinks in the rule book, just in terms of the way some things are explained. But we'll get to that a little later on.
So Robin's cool. He has some cool gadgets. He can do some really cool things. I like that, basically, what is it the card called? It's called the Sling. Allows him to just basically never lose range on his range weapons. Will never lose for 4 spaces.
Yeah.
Batgirl keeps her focus. She gets an extra focus back. Well, she gets a focus back at the end of her turn, so it makes using focus much more palatable.
It seemed really cool, that card, though, that let you basically use your focus as gadgets, so you could use just about any gadget whenever you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't have used that card before. I mean, we were following what they recommended for cards until this last game that we played, and I should have used that before. I think for me, the biggest thing is still that I think it's a similar thing we said with TMNT, and you remember much more clearly what we say. It's been a long time since we reviewed.
Well, we did get a recent comment on it where someone complained about us calling the game a good starter cooperative game in terms of the difficulty level.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to say it again. This is not a difficult cooperative game.
But there's a lot of stuff going on, so to play it correctly and trigger all the sequences, you do have to know that, because that can be challenging.
Yeah, except that I never felt like we were really in that much danger. I mean,
no, we rolled fairly well, I must admit, the first two games. The first scenario really feels a lot more like a tutorial. The second scenario we were just on the wire for that one and this one, but I think we would have been actually in a much better place in the second scenario against Catwoman if we'd used our gadgets properly. We're still figuring those out a little bit, so that could have made a big difference. But we did stop her pretty quick and rescue the bystanders without too much difficulty.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fun. It's the same thing as with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're rolling different dice that have different icons or different amount of icons depending on your strengths. So Robin has double. I don't think he has the double range, whereas Batgirl has more of the double punch. She doesn't have any double range. She only has one range. So that means that makes each character have some strengths and weaknesses and things that they're better at than others. So that makes it a little bit more interesting, and you have to work with your co-op partners to be efficient. You definitely can't you could probably just play the game your own way, but it's not the point of a cooperative.
Yeah, but you do have the Dark Knight mode, the true solo mode for the game, which makes sense. It's Batman. A lot of his adventures he had solo at the start, so I do like the fact that they included it in the game as well. So I like this game. There's like I was talking about the kinks in the rulebook. The phrasing, so the layout has been improved versus TMNT. It was easier to go through, remember, and just catch up on some of the background colors to separate the cooperative and competitive rules really helped. There's stuff that is really not clear exactly how you would use the wild dice for the beat cops that we have with Jim Gordon. Made them seem very ineffective at the start. Basically, you can move. You get a basic movement action that you can trigger with the dice, and then you have a die that you can use to trigger an attack action. You can also use both as an attack action if you want to give you that little extra oomph, which is what you're going to really need if you're going to be engaging the enemies, because pretty much in cooperative mode, they all have a minimum of 2 standard defense. So we'll lift them up just so you can see a little bit the anatomy of the card. If you want to see everything, you can go back to our unboxing. Well, I'll actually link it at the end later on, since we did not get a chance to do the components this time. So the way the B-Cops were explained just was not well done, and there's a few aspects of that. I don't think the rulebook flows very well. All the information's there. I like the way the terms are, but I really would have preferred to see things like line of sight not be an entire separate section. I'd rather have an example of line of sight in terms of combat, and then full explanation of line of sight rules later on. The rulebook is still just not clean, and I think that has to do with the fact that the game is still adapted from TMNT Shadows of the Past, which was originally a one versus many game system. Now, I think they've done a good job turning into a cooperative system, but the AI still feels a little bit on the light side, and certain scenarios, especially in this game, I think it's a little different in TMNT. Sorry if I just froze there for a second, because TMNT, they took Shadows of the Past, retooled it, and added to it, and that's what became the 2 base boxes, Changes Constant and Cityfall. In this game, they're trying to build the whole game from scratch with solid cooperative and competitive scenarios. So, for example, the scenario that we're playing here, which was against Mr. Freeze, the whole competitive aspect of the game is him getting away with the canisters. There are no rules for Mr. Freeze to take the canisters at all in the cooperative mode. It's just we have to stop him, knock him out, and rescue all the bystanders that were on the board within the first 4 turns, which we did. We did it on round 4. Now, the AI was kind of dumb, and just because of the positioning where everything was, they all got clogged up in this area. There really wasn't much that we could have done to actually prevent it. We kind of just rushed in here, and they basically got stuck behind each other because they can't move through enemy figures, and we just slowly beat them up, and then we started attacking Freeze. Now, Freeze does hurt. It's not like Batman didn't take any damage and got close to getting knocked out, but it just never felt overly threatening, as Julie pointed out. It always felt like we were going to be able to win the game. I actually think scenario 2 would have been more challenging because we almost didn't get back in time to help out because you had to split the party with going to take out Catwoman, and we definitely didn't move as a team as well as we could have using the grappling guns, which would have probably made things better. We did towards the end, and that really helped out. But I just find that the AI is lacking. But that being said, we have a lot of really hard cooperative games. Mm-hmm. If I want the feeling of playing Batman, the animated series, this has it in spades. You feel like Batman, you feel like Robin, Batgirl, Jim Gordon and his cops helping out the Cape Crusader and the Bat family. It was awesome. I really had a lot of fun playing as Jim Gordon once I figured him out, and his ability to, sort of stay behind, use the beat cops for cover, maybe take out some of the weaker enemies and save the civilians. It's thematic and maybe not what you want to do. It's not as heroic as, beating up Mr. Freeze, but it works well. The game really adapts the mechanics. So thematically, it's very well done. Also, the fact that each mission is based on an episode of the show is fantastic. Takes me back to some of those classic episodes. So it's just really cool, and I like everything that they've done with it. Now, the amount of components they have, tokens for all the different things, that is a little overwhelming. And I was hoping that they would have tried to streamline that a little bit, going from TMNT to Batman the Animated Series, but they do not. So that can definitely have a few players feeling a little lost. The addition in the rulebook here of what was one of the things we had to print out, I want to just show it because you're going to want to maybe photocopy it, laminate it, keep it nearby, is just the target priority and how to run the enemies. The flow chart, incredibly useful, and I'm really happy that they added that. And I really like the fact that there's some stuff that we still haven't tried yet. We're definitely going to be playing this again, getting back out to the table. Like with Jim Gordon, you can upgrade his beat cops to Bullock and Montoya, characters from the show that do have
we also haven't, I was looking forward to using the caltrops. There wasn't really an opportunity to do that yet. The gas mask and the search goggles, I'm like, it's going to be cool to be able to use these things eventually. So, I'm sure there are other scenarios where those things are going to be important. We just, haven't made it through all those scenarios yet.
Oh, and for example, with this one, the first thing I did was drop smoke pellets, like smoke bombs, and that immediately actually stalled the enemies because they could not get around that. Smoke that I did with Batman at the start really slowed everything down, and that gave us a lot more control over the map and what we could do, and that makes sense because that's what Batman's all about. Those gadgets are the things that can really turn the tide in your favor. So like here we've got bombs that we're going to have to defuse. We haven't faced Harley Quinn or the Joker yet. There's so much more for us or the Riddler, yes. There's so much more for us to experience in this game. Neither of us have played as Catwoman yet, as for one of the heroes. So you do have a nice selection of heroes, and it's thematic. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's bad. And then if you got the all-in Kickstarter like I did, there's a whole lot of other content. Like, for example, you'll be excited since Superman's your favorite. They did a crossover episode with the Superman show. Unfortunately, he's not in it. He'd just be a little too powerful. But there's a famous episode called Girls' Night Out, and you do have Supergirl.
Okay. So are you ready to give a rating? You've had a lot to say about it. Do you have something else to say before you...
I do, actually. Thank you for the reminder. One thing that really does bother me, though, and it's pretty much inexcusable, is just some of the stuff that we have in the Shadow of the Bat scenario book. There are some misprints in the book. You won't be able to see them. But for example, I think it's in episode 2, where basically there's no spaces on one of the lines describing the how to rescue a bystander. It's all clumped together. Some of the icons here are like labeled incorrectly. They should be N or H. Also, you see this red container, which I don't believe was included in this, because I can't find it. I think it was included in TMNT, but they use like the same templates. So a few things just weren't updated and were done fairly sloppily. So that's something that I don't like. It's not a deal breaker. All the information's there. It just feels very amateur for a company like IDW to be putting something out like that. Also, kind of cool that these are comic books. Kind of like lame that they're comic books, because they do feel just a little bit more fragile. But dice, production, art. Well, the art is everything from the show. So if you like Batman the Animated Series, a lot of the stuff is stills ripped from the show, and because it's animated, it works well for the theme of the board game. And I think I covered everything. Did I miss anything at all, Julie?
I don't know. You had a lot to say, but
so did you.
I don't forgot anything. So why don't you give it your rating?
I'm going to give this is a little tricky for me because I like this.
You're not used to having to give your score first, huh?
No, that's not it. I'm debating if I like TMNT more than this. And I know we spend more time with TMNT. I think TMNT is a little bit more nostalgia for me. I grew up on it.
Okay, just give it a rating already.
Jeez. Okay. I'm going to give this a 7. And this could have got a 7.5, but the scenario book, to me, just that lack of professionalism in it just drags it down a notch. I'm not happy with that. It really bugs me. And I just want to be honest about it. I wish there was also just a lack of streamlining from TMNT to this. This is the second version. It should be a lot better. But they have improved it in a lot of aspects, but not enough that I can necessarily give it a better or the same score, because I just think I like Turtles more.
So for me, this is a 6.5.
A 6.5?
Yeah, we've played some other games, even competitive games. I'm getting tougher on cooperative games. We've played a lot of them. I expect a little bit more from them. I would, honestly, unless somebody's a huge Batman fan, I'd probably suggest the Turtles game instead of this one. I
think you loathe the theme a little bit more as well.
Maybe, but I also think that the Turtles were better powered than Robin, like I said, was cool, and so was Batman. But I feel like Robin and Batman are stronger than I think it was Raphael and Donatello that were
Raphael. Well, they're all really strong. They all had really cool things they could do.
So I find that Robin and Batman are just a little too strong compared to the other two, and I think if I was playing a 4-player game, I'd be a little bit disappointed to have, Batgirl.
Well, as you said, it's on theme for the characters. It just may not be as fun and feel a little bit less heroic. That being said, we did play all the Turtles. I liked all of the Turtles. And we have yet to go through all the variety that's available. That being said, in the retail release, you have this and only the Arkham Asylum expansion. So you have a much smaller gap of characters. That being said, I don't think your point is wrong, but I also think it suits the theme of Batman the Animated Series. So I think a lot of people are going to love it. I think a lot of people will be a little bit more meh on
like me
on it as well.
So on that note, it's time to remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
So take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see pictures of Julie and I playing Batman the Animated Series, Shadow of the Bat, there'll be plenty on our feed. And also down there is a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. Click that link. You'll get 10% off your next purchase, and it's a great way to support the channel, as a portion of that purchase is returned to us. So make sure to check them out. Also popping up in front of us will be links to some of our previously released videos. In front of me will be our most recent release. If you want to see all the components, everything that was in the box, in front of Julie, there's going to be a link to the all-in unboxing that I released, that I go through all the content for Batman Shadow of the Bat, including the Kickstarter exclusives. And on that, we're now going to
grab our drinks,
grab our best friend.
We're gonna keep playing games.
keep playing games. I definitely want to get this one back out there. I'm wondering if there's some more characters you might not like more.
Maybe. It'd be fun to play against the Riddler.